Here we go.
This is the Skip Bayless Show, episode 125. So a little quick numerology. Let's break down 1, 2, 5. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 5 is 8. So it reduces to an 8, which, if you go biblical, stands for new beginnings, everlasting life. I'll take that. 1, 2, 5. Here we go. And by the way, before I start, I am taping today from home. My wife Ernestine was just here. She's not here anymore because we have shocking role reversal this time. Twice before, I have taped this show from this seat in this house when I had COVID. Would you believe that my wife Ernestine, the all-time most careful COVID avoider in the history of the world, somehow caught COVID about 6-7 days ago? I was gone last week, as I mentioned, for a little golf outing in Palm Springs, about 2 hours drive from here on the west side of Los Angeles. And while I was gone, Ernestine had some other humans come into this house to clean all the rugs. There were 3 humans in this house cleaning all the rugs, deep cleaning all the rugs. And we suspect one of them was carrying the virus. And all of a sudden, my wife Ernestine, after 4.5 years of this, never having had COVID, lost her COVID virginity. She lost it. She's devastated. I'm actually a little bit happy because her symptoms haven't been too bad. She had some sort of terrible migraine last Saturday, which was the first real day of it. But other than that, not too bad. And my hope is that Ernestine now sees that we've all had COVID. It seems like every mortal on this planet has had COVID at least once, if not twice, if not 3 times. It's still out there. It's still going around. It still mutates. And I'm just hoping that my wife Ernestine, who's in amazing shape, will now realize, well, it's not that big a deal. Is she tarnished? No. If she is, we all are. So get well soon, Ernestine. And she was just here miking me up. She mic'd me up twice before when I had COVID. She was wearing the equivalent of a hazmat suit. So now she was wearing her hazmat suit with double masks to keep me from getting COVID. So far, I'm knocking on wood. So good. I haven't caught it. Maybe I will. I'm okay with that. Now, back to our regularly scheduled program. This is episode 125, and today I will tell you why this Saturday at Jerry World will be my Super Bowl. And today I will tell you why I have caught the fever, not the COVID fever, the fever as in the Indiana fever, because Caitlin Clark can be so great and so bad all at the same time that I can't quit watching. And today I will answer several of your probing, provocative questions, including one about what's my all-time favorite LeBron moment of his entire career. I will answer that positively. And another question about, after what we just saw Steph Curry do in the Olympics semifinals and the gold medal game, does he now vault into my all-time top 10? Well, I'll get to that. And today, I will break down and tell you the outcomes of the schedules of this year's Colorado Buffaloes and Philadelphia Eagles, because I'm going to get to a whole lot of your questions. And as I tweeted last week, new place for new questions. Hit me up with anything. Fire away at askskip@realskipbayless.com. Ask Skip at realskipbayless.com. Ask me anything. Bones to pick, personal questions. I don't care. Fire away. I'll finish up today with one of your questions about the new movie Twisters. I grew up in the state of Oklahoma, dodging twisters. I'll tell you what I thought of that movie and its predecessor back in 1996. But first up, as always, it is not to be skipped. All right, I'm going to need a seatbelt for this one. I'm going to answer a question from Jonathan Diaz. The question being, what's your honest take with Trey Lance, and would you start him over Dak Prescott? Okay, feel free to laugh at that question if you must. Feel free to laugh at my answer if you must. But I am here to tell you, and again, forgive me, I get so worked up about this because I am so right about this. I dare you to tell me I'm wrong about this. This is my heart and soul. This is my Dallas Cowboys I'm talking about. This is a team I have lived for and loved since I was 10 years old and I saw my first game at the old Cotton Bowl. 10 years of age. I've never been the same since. My Cowboys have never been the same since the teams I covered in the 90s, the last of which got to the Super Bowl following the 1995 season. They obviously got to the NFC Championship game to get to that Super Bowl following the 1995 season, and it has been going on 30 years since my team even sniffed an NFC Championship game. It is by far the most valuable team in the world. I saw a graphic on ESPN.com just yesterday as ESPN.com did its first power ranking of the season, and it was a montage of players, little players, around one central figure, Jerry Jones. Gerald Wayne Jones Jr. was the centerpiece of ESPN.com's presentation of their new power rankings. It's 2024. 1995 to 2024. We're going on 30 years, and Jerry Jones is still not only the face of my Cowboys, he's the face of the freaking league. And my team has been mediocre at best. I don't want to hear about 12 wins in the regular season. Mediocre at best, because at worst, since that 1995 season and those playoffs, since then, if you look at teams that have played at least 15 playoff games since then, we have the worst playoff winning percentage in the entire league. I can't even go mediocre. I got spoiled by Roger Staubach. I got spoiled by Troy Aikman. Heck, I got spoiled by Dandy Don Meredith. For you old timers out there. And I'm stuck with Dak Prescott. So I'm here to tell you that this Saturday, the game's at 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central Time at Jerry World, be 1 p.m. Pacific Time out here in Los Angeles. I'm watching my Super Bowl. I am not exaggerating. I am about to watch my Super Bowl. I called this almost 1 year ago on August 28th on Undisputed. What is it? It's August. I'm taping on August 21st, so I'm a week short of 1 year ago. I called it on Undisputed that the Dallas Cowboys had just acquired Trey Lance for no more than a 4th round pick. And I said that because that preseason was past, behind us, that the following preseason that is about to conclude this Saturday would be it for Trey Lance. He needed reps because he played very little at North Dakota State, 1 season plus 1 game in the COVID lost season. He needed reps. He was going to get reps. We were going to figure out what Trey Lance can be or not be the following preseason. I predicted a year ago, and this is it. This is my Super Bowl. I have said, I'm on record. I was on record ahead of Trey Lance's draft before we even knew what the Shanahans were about to do, which was trade 3 first-round picks and a third-round pick to go up from 12 to get him at 2. I said before that draft, I love this kid. I love what he could be. Not enough reps, not a big enough body of work, but I love everything I see about him. I love his size. I love his speed. I love his guts. I love his arm. I love his brain. I love his backbone. I love his work ethic. I love everything about him. I think he can be very good in the National Football League, and I still believe he can be very good in the National Football League. But I need one more big preseason game from him. I'm talking about this is my Super Bowl, and we are going to watch, at least I'm going to watch, maybe you won't, but I'm going to be on the edge of my seat for a game that will feature a whole lot of third stringers and fourth stringers that won't even make the roster, that probably won't make any roster in the National Football League this year. And it's going to be my end of the world, do or die, edge of seat game, as unwatchably bad as it probably will be for most of you. I need to see one more big step taken by Trey Lance. I need to see him establish himself as a viable, worthy, credible predecessor, as the next Dallas Cowboy quarterback. I need to see Trey Lance, I need to see him hit the trifecta. I need a third preseason game from him. I need Trey Lance a lot, as in Sir Lance a lot, as in the greatest knight of the round table, as in the greatest swordsman, as in the greatest jouster. I need that Trey Lance to emerge, because that Trey, that Sir Lance a lot, is inside Trey Lance as we speak. He just needed reps. The 49ers drafted him because Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan, two of the greatest offensive minds in the history of this game, took a hard look at him at North Dakota State and said, he's it. He can have next. He is our guy. He's going to turn our franchise around. And what happened right away? He broke a finger. He fractured a finger on his throwing hand, and he wasn't the same that year. And then when he came back the next year, started to get hold of it, and at Chicago he wound up fracturing his ankle. It was not meant to be. Brock Purdy was meant to be. Brock Purdy fell out of heaven, the final pick in the draft, right into Kyle Shanahan's lap. And Kyle looked up and said, I love Trey Lance, because they love him as a young man, because he is it. Leadership, charisma, character. He's it. I think it tore Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan apart to have to let go of Trey Lance, but they had no choice, because they couldn't have him looking over the shoulder of this kid quarterback who started looking like Joe Montana. So I certainly don't blame them for that, because they got a winner, they got a keeper. I just have a gut feeling that Dallas now has a winner and a keeper, but I need to see one more game. I saw Trey Lance get to throw 41 passes against the Rams. 41 passes in a preseason game, because they gave Cooper Rush one series and then they gave Trey Lance the rest of the game. I saw Cooper Rush play one series against the Raiders at Las Vegas, and then I saw Trey Lance play the rest of the game, and he threw 23 passes, and he started to get a hold of it. I saw him complete 15 of 23 passes at Las Vegas last Saturday for 151 yards. He hasn't been thrown for big yards, but He's playing with third and fourth stringers, maybe fifth stringers. Nobody plays in these preseason games except Trey Lance, and I need him to win my Super Bowl on Saturday. I need Trey Lance to force Jerry Jones to stop and think about what he's doing. I've told you my worst nightmare. What tears my soul apart is the prospect of Jerry Jones recommitting to Dak Prescott for another 4 more years of, by my standards, mediocrity. I love Dak Prescott as a guy. He's another fine guy. NFL Man of the Year 2 years ago. As a man, as a role model, as name, all that off the field, it's all great. I don't care. I care about what happens on the field, and I've seen enough. I'm done with Dak. I told you this again and again. I am right about this, and I dare you to tell me I'm wrong about this, because I'm not. Then I had to live with my second worst nightmare. My worst nightmare would be Jerry Jones recommitting, giving Dak most money of any quarterback in the history of football for the next 4 years. My second worst nightmare hit 2 days ago when I saw that 2 Madden simulations had Dak Prescott winning MVP this year. Horrors. I don't care what he does in the regular season. And by the way, Madden last year simulated that the Dallas Cowboys would win the Super Bowl. How did that work out? I don't care if Dak wins 5 straight MVPs. I only care what happens in the postseason, because I'm spoiled rotten, because I grew up with dynastic Cowboys. Cowboys of the late 60s and 70s. Cowboys of the 90s. Dynastic Cowboys. I know what that feels like and smells like and tastes like. I'm spoiled rotten to the core. We're going on 30 years. We're stuck with Dak. We're mired in his mediocrity by our standards. He's a very good player. He's very good. Is that what you want? Very good? I want great. I want transcendent. I want rise above. I want somebody who can lift my franchise into a Super Bowl, and Dak ain't it. Remember what CeeDee's mom tweeted after that debacle against the Green Bay Packers in the playoff game at Jerry World? Dak isn't it. She summed it up in 3 words, and she's so dead on right. Dak is not it. I just made it 4 words. Let's contract it. Dak isn't it. He's not it. Never will be it. I've seen enough. We're 8 years. Seen enough. He was a 4th-round draft pick for a reason. When push comes to shove, he reverts into being a 4th-round draft pick. Go back and look carefully at what he's done in his last 3 playoff losses. Tell me I'm wrong about this. Tell me I'm wrong, because I'm right. The last 3 playoff losses Dak has participated in have been nightmares. Not it. Did you see what happened last year at Arizona? Did you see what happened on that disastrous Sunday night at San Francisco? Did you see what happened at Buffalo? Dak ain't it. 2-5 in the postseason. And now Madden simulates him to win MVP after he finished 2nd last year. And where did that get us? Nowhere. It got us home for a playoff game that we trailed in 27-0 before halftime. Think about that. We were down 27-0 as the 2 seed at home before halftime. That has a lot to do with the head coach and the quarterback. Team was not ready to play against the youngest team in the playoffs, the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love. Not ready to play. Dak ain't it as a leader, as a charismatic leader, as a playmaking team lifter. Dak ain't it. I just have a feeling, and maybe I'm desperate, that Trey is it. but I don't have enough body of work to prove that. I watched carefully what happened at Las Vegas last Saturday evening. I started to see flashes. Trey Lance has a bigger arm than Dak Prescott. Trey Lance is obviously far more mobile than Dak Prescott is at this stage and age after all the injuries he's been through. Trey Lance is a little bigger, a little stronger, a little faster. His acceleration is breathtaking. And I did love it that before last Saturday night's game, Jerry did rave about Trey Lance. Called him a great athlete. Got it. With a great mind. Yep. Who's stuck in a game plan, according to Jerry, that requires him, mandates him in these preseason games to stay put in the pocket and throw it. Not a single running play has been called for Trey Lance in this preseason and will not be Saturday in my Super Bowl against the other LA team, the Chargers, at Jerry World. Not a single running play will be called, I doubt, because they want to see Trey throw it from the pocket. He has escaped occasionally and looks sensational when he escapes, but obviously that's last gasp. That's spur of the moment. That's not called. If this were a regular season game Saturday against the Jim Harbaugh-led Chargers, there would be a lot of running plays called for Trey Lance because he can gash you with his legs and his grit and his toughness. Can he stay healthy? I don't know. Obviously, his brief history in San Francisco would say no. I just love what the kid is made of. Maybe fresh start, change of scenery, new circumstances, not quite as much pressure. Maybe this is it. I need a wait a second game for Jerry Jones. I need a game from Trey Lance that will stop Jerry in his tracks and make him rethink his lean, which is he's clearly leaning toward giving Dak yet another long-term Freudian slip, extension. I fear 5 more Dak years at top quarterback money. I fear Jerry's going to think, well, Madden loves him. How can a computer love it? Is the computer even blinded by the metallic blue cowboy light? Is the computer programmed to overrate the Dallas Cowboys the way everybody else seems to? Look, you got to understand about Jerry. He's not football savvy. He played college football for Arkansas, started at offensive guard for a national championship team. Not football savvy. Doesn't really get it. Needs somebody to tell him who can play and who can't. Somebody has told him that Trey Lance is a great athlete with a great mind. Somebody has told him that they're not going to call a single running play for Trey Lance in these preseason games because they just want to see him throw it from the pocket. But my greatest fear is that Jerry will read about 2 Madden simulations have Dak winning MVP and will overreact to an external force, as he is prone to do, because Jerry's all about box office. In the end, he's not about winning and losing. He's about drawing. He's about entertainment package, translating into most valuable team in the world. 2 Madden simulations say Dak is box office. Dak is Madden. Dak is it, Jerry. That's what Jerry's thinking is my greatest fear. No, Jerry, please, no. Please, no. I need one more giant step from Trey Lance. You longtime Cowboy fans, I'm flashing. I see 19 on the field. Trey decided to take 19 because He had 15, and Zeke wore 15 last year in New England and requested 15 when he rejoined the Cowboys, whatever is left of Zeke. And so Trey willingly took 19. The last Cowboy that leaps out in my mind as a star, no disrespect to Keyshawn, but I think of another Lance way back. First name Lance, last name Allworth. He wore number 19. I know it's way before most of your times, but not before mine. Lance Allworth was a star of the first Super Bowl the Cowboys ever won, 24-3 over the Miami Dolphins. Lance Allworth, great receiver, probably on his last legs at that point, made 2 big catches in that game, one for a touchdown, one a big third down conversion, both thrown by Roger Staubach. Lance Allworth wore number 19. Great receiver from Jerry, Arkansas, a San Diego Charger, and then a Dallas Cowboy. Maybe there's some symmetry here. Jerry gave a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance to potentially replace a 4th-round pick in Dak Prescott. Maybe there's some symmetry here. One big wait-a-second game from Trey Lance on Saturday evening at Jerry World. Maybe he'll throw 40 more passes. Maybe he'll go 30 of 40 for 351. God help us all. Maybe he'll escape and run 7 times for 77 yards. God help us all. Maybe he'll make Jerry stop in his tracks and rethink re-signing Dak Prescott. Please, please, please. I just need something. And yet, muddying these waters for me, further complicating this entire equation is, you know how I feel about Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush has been getting that first series in the preseason games. I assume he'll get another first series against the other LA team, the Chargers, at Jerry World on Saturday. Cooper Rush is simply the best backup quarterback in the entire National Football League. In Cooper, I trust. Remember the run he had 2 years ago? Remember the game he played 3 years ago at Kirk Cousins on a Sunday night at Minnesota? Remember those games 2 years ago against Joe Burrow, at Rams, against Washington? No, he didn't have a big arm, doesn't have great legs. He can just play, deadly accurate, sees it, feels it, throws it before he needs to throw it, anticipates it. I think he's really good. Do I think if Cooper Rush started every game this year, we would win more games than we would with Dak? I do. That's how much I believe in Cooper Rush. But come on, ladies and gentlemen, Trey Lance is a whole nother level from Cooper Rush of size and speed and arm, a whole nother level. Yeah, he struggled against the Rams in that first outing with some accuracy. He struggled with his rhythm because he's lost some rhythm, because he's lost some confidence. He took a mental battering in San Francisco. They tried to throw him right into the fire, right out of North Dakota State, really just 1 year of starting quarterback at North Dakota State. And he got hurt, and then he got hurt again. You saw the flashes of brilliance, of excellence, of pro bowlness. You saw them. But it wasn't meant to be in San Francisco, and I just need it meant to be now. I need Jerry to have an excuse not to re-sign Dak for the next 4 or 5 years. I need him to stop cold and say, wait a second. I don't wish injury upon anybody, but my fondest dream, I'll be honest with you, in some ways I root against my team in this coming year, and God knows Jerry hasn't done anything to help Dak, to make the team better around him. But I hope Dak struggles this year. I hope there comes a point at midseason when they do decide, maybe off this game on Saturday night, my Super Bowl game, maybe there's some point where they say, let's give Trey Lance a shot. Maybe they do. And maybe he grabs the reins. Maybe he seizes the day. Maybe all of a sudden you see the whole team rise up on offense and defense, inspired by the sensational playmaking, the leadership of Trey Lance. The Shanahans gave 3 firsts and a third for him. I said before the draft, before I even knew they were going to go up and get him, I said, there, him. Little did I know, I was actually talking about my team, not the 49ers or anybody else. I didn't know it. But wouldn't that be miraculous if I was talking about my team before that 2021 draft? When I said, there, go get him. And the Shanahans did. Not some goofball, not some wacky GM who's about to get fired. The Shanahans, the two of the greatest offensive minds in the history of football, probably in Kyle, the best offensive mind going today, after his dad was for many years. Now still advising the 49ers is Mike. They did that for a reason. I need to see one more giant step from Trey Lance. I need him to position himself to be the near future, not the distant future, but the near future. I need Jerry to back off and calm down about re-signing Dak. Now for my final biggest nightmare, that Jerry has already decided to go forward with Dak, Cooper Rush as his backup. That Jerry is simply playing hype man, hyping and playing Trey Lance so that he could maybe inspire another team desperate for a quarterback to give maybe a 2 or a 3 for the player he gave only a 4th round pick for. Maybe Jerry's trying to play checkers. He doesn't know how to play chess, but maybe he's trying to play some checkers here with the NFL. It's probably happening. Maybe Trey Lance by opening day will be a Raider. I don't know. He'll be somewhere else. If so, I'm doomed. Okay, I just talked about how my wife Ernestine finally got COVID. Did have a bit of a fever, did have a migraine. And now I'm here to tell you I've caught a fever also. I've caught an Indiana fever, as in WNBA, as in women's basketball, as in I can't quit watching Caitlin Clark and her team. It is so fun to watch. I watch every dribble of every game. I am mesmerized by how I go against my better judgment again and again and again and forgive Caitlin Clark for her obviously glaring flaws. I forgive and forgive and forgive because her so good is so much better than her so bad. Her so good is so much better than her so bad because her so bad is so spectacularly close to her so good. Have I lost you yet? I'll explain. Let's look hard at what Caitlin Clark has done so far, albeit as an NBA rookie. Well, the bottom line is this team started 1-8 because it had a murderer's row of a schedule to start with, 2 against New York and 2 against Connecticut. But all of a sudden, this team has won 10 of its last 15 games. All of a sudden, this team has won 8 of its last 9 home games, mostly because of Caitlin Clark's transcendence. For a while, I wasn't sure she was Rookie of the Year. For a while, I thought her rival in Chicago was a little better because of her double-double expertise and her commitment to offensive rebounding. Angel Reese. And now, I'm sorry, Caitlin has edged back ahead, not only for Rookie of the Year, but I'm seeing a very near future MVP in this league. That's how gifted she is in so many ways. So let's look hard at what's happened. Do you realize, nobody talks about this, do you realize that Caitlin Clark has already shattered the all-time single-season record for turnovers? Think about that. She's shattered it, and she still has 12 games to go. She has 155 turnovers. Last year, Alyssa Thomas had 137. That set the new all-time single-season turnover record, 137. Caitlin Clark is already at 155. Think about that, how bad that is. It's almost like if you tried to be that bad, turning the ball over, you couldn't, because Caitlin Clark is now 53 turnovers better or worse than the second place in turnovers, which is still Alyssa Thomas, who has 102. So Caitlin has 53 more turnovers than Alyssa Thomas to lead the league, to lead everybody else in the league. She's 53 worse than anybody else. Think about that. It's impossibly bad. And this team has won 8 of its last 9 games at home. And why do I forgive her? Because they're winning, and because her turnovers are all mostly attempts at spectacular passes. So when she doesn't quite thread the needle through 3 defenders, I think, oh, well, I love it that she tried. And then she tries again. She tries again. She is completely fearless. She is without conscience, basketball conscience. She is without basketball memory. She'll try it again and try it again and try it again because, you know why? Because Caitlin Clark leads this league in assists by 22. She has 232 assists. So you forgive her because it's all trying to be spectacular. When she pulls off one of her passes, and she is a gifted once-in-a-generation passer, when she pulls one off, you say, my God, I'm not sure I've seen that before. Every night, Caitlin does 1 or 2 things where I say, I'm not sure I've seen that before. Her lead pass is up the floor, where she gets the ball off the board, takes one dribble and lets it fly. 2-hand chest passes, touchdown passes from 60 yards away, it feels like, 70 yards away, are breathtakers. She keeps trying to be great, trying to be spectacular, trying to create highlights, and she often does. And when she fails, you shrug and say, next, because you know there's going to be a next. Would you believe that Caitlin Clark has attempted more three-point shots by far than anybody else? She's attempted 14 more than Sabrina has. Caitlin Clark is currently making 32.8% of her three-point shots. That ranks 35th in the league of 48 qualified three-point shooters, higher volume three-point shooters. She ranks 35th out of 48 qualified. 32.8 is not very good because even last year at Iowa, she was 37.8. That's 5 percentage points higher at Iowa last year. That means she's in a three-point slump. Why do I forgive her? Because it feels like half of them are from the logo. She is high risk, high reward. And I forgive her because, she tried another one from the logo, and it's quick, it's effortless, it's a jump shot. She jumps and shoots it. I didn't think I'd ever see this before, but she jumps and shoots it effortlessly with a flick of the wrist. You want to talk about natural strength? That's not weight room strength. That's just gift. That you can shoot a basketball that far with that much touch and keep it on line from the logo with just a little flick of the wrist. It's effortless. And when it goes in, we're all entertained. Wow. You want to talk about wow factor on passes and logo threes? It's the biggest wow factor in the league. It's why we watch. It's why I was in Palm Springs last week on a little golf outing for 5 days with my best friend from Oklahoma City, Craig Humphreys. One day we stopped off at the mall. I needed to pick up something. We go up through. A lot of people do recognize me. It's okay. I don't mind taking quick pictures. But we had to drop into, I needed to grab something at Dick's Sporting Goods. There's not one here on the west side of LA. It's just, I have to order whatever I need online, which is fine. But that Dick's in Palm Springs is sensational. It's an endless store of everything I love about sports. I love to walk through it and just get a feel for what's hot. And what was hot was the big display of Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, and it just blew me away. It's all about Caitlin Clark because she entertains us in ways we have not been entertained before. Watching women's basketball. And then we've got the subplot on our own team. This is why they're so captivating and fascinating. I love Kelsey Mitchell's game. Sometimes I don't love it that she comes across like Russell Westbrook did when he was with Durant early on in Oklahoma City. And Kelsey Mitchell is really gifted as a scorer. But she has now taken 402 shots, which is 26 more than Caitlin Clark has taken. And that gets a little offensive to me because I do think Caitlin's a better scorer than Kelsey, because all Caitlin did was break the all-time scoring record in the history of college basketball, men's or women's. And now you're telling me that her teammate Kelsey Mitchell has taken 26 more shots. That's not right. There was a point in the game the other day against Seattle in which Caitlin clearly got miffed because she's begging for the ball on a return pass after she had passed it to Kelsey, who got stopped, thwarted by a double team. Caitlin's wide open from three. Just give me the ball back. And Kelsey passed to Aaliyah Boston or somebody else. And it bothered Caitlin. It bothered me. And I'm not saying there's any rift between them because Kelsey is just the classic see ball, shoot ball, see goal, attack goal. That's what she does. And it's beautiful to watch. And it's a big, bad component of what they're doing. It's why they've won 8 out of 9 games at home. But now I have to watch Caitlin, who's taken the 9th most shots in the league, defer again and again to Kelsey, who's taken the 6th most shots in the league. Somehow that doesn't seem exactly right. Yet the Fever are getting righter and righter right before your very eyes because of Aaliyah Boston and Nalissa Smith and Katie Lou Samuelson, Lexi Hull. It's just, I'm getting to know all their games and all their styles and all their backstories because they're so much fun to watch. Now they have swept Phoenix. They have swept the team featuring a Kalia Copper who took over the gold medal game at the Olympics. Kalia Copper, ultimate slasher. And yet, Caitlin's team has beaten her team 3 times, 3-0, swept them. It's Brittany Griner, Diana Taurasi, swept them. Wow, something is happening here that I can't quit watching. Does Caitlin have a little attitude? Yeah, and she's starting to flash it more and more because you need an attitude if you're going to be the best. You need some edge if you're going to be the best. Whew. So Caitlin the other day got a technical. I applauded the technical. I'd like to see an occasional technical from her because I need her to play with that much edge, that much style, that much swagger. that much attitude. And then when the game was put away, she angled toward the Seattle bench and was clapping hard to the crowd to incite the crowd. She was doing it a little bit in the face of the Storm players. And I also loved it that Skylar Diggins-Smith, used to know her from many shows back in the day at First Take, she took an angle and rammed into Caitlin, as she should have, because Caitlin was showing up her bench. Loved both. Way to go. Go, go, go. Loved them both. I'm seeing Caitlin Clark emerge as an extraordinary professional basketball player. Highest risk, highest reward. I'm actually okay with those record-shattering turnovers. I'm actually okay with the logo threes that so often miss. I'm so okay with Caitlin Clark now that I must tell you, I look more forward to watching the Indiana Fever than I do my Dallas Cowboys. And that's the truth. Okay, next question is from Jake Duggan. It's a good one. What's your favorite LeBron moment in his career? Okay, it's a positive question. I'm going to give you a positive answer. No sarcasm necessary. My favorite LeBron moment came at the very end of the closeout Game 5 of the 2012 NBA Finals. Miami Heat versus the Baby Thunder of Oklahoma City. Final score of that closeout game at Miami was 121 to 106, in part because, speaking of Russell Westbrook, in that game, he went 4 of 20 from the floor, 4 of 20, and 0 of 5 from 3. LeBron had just recorded a triple-double that clinched for him the MVP of those finals, the 2012 finals, even though in that game he had gone 0 of 3 from 3 with 6 turnovers. But who was counting? And even though in that game, the unsung MVP was actually Mike Miller, who came off the bench to score 23 points by hitting 7 of 8 three-point shots. But who was counting? Do you remember what LeBron said live on ABC, on court, moments after that game ended? Do you remember the immortal line? It's about damn time, said LeBron James. Was it ever? That was the perfect line delivered at the perfect time. 9 years LeBron had waited to finally win a championship. 9 years had passed, and LeBron had no rings. And finally, against the Baby Thunder, he had broken through. 1 year after the all-time superstar meltdown suffered in his first go-round with the Heat, 2011 finals against the Dallas Mavericks. Remember games 4, 5, and 6, as the chosen one became the frozen one in that series. 1 year after that, LeBron uttered the immortal words, "It's about damn time." That, ladies and gentlemen, was my all-time favorite LeBron James moment. This is Maurice asking a question all the way from Sweden. Hello, Maurice in Sweden. Is Steph Curry top 10 all-time now that he brought home the Olympic gold for the USA? That's a fair question, Maurice, and it allows me to hark back to the video I posted moments after that gold medal game ended against France in France. Maybe you saw my video that went viral, in which I said Steph Curry just shot LeBron James right in the heart. He just stole the MVP right out from under the prohibitive MVP favorite, LeBron James. Steph Curry had just made 17 of 26 three-point shots in the semifinal and the final. 17 of 26. He had just made 4 three-point shots in the fourth quarter against France, including that final double-covered step back that was a thing of lasting Olympic immortality. What a shot that was to cap it off by the greatest shooter we've ever seen, Steph Curry. So I immediately posted, poor LeBron. Sorry, Steph is the MVP because there's no way we would have beaten Serbia without Steph's threes. There is absolutely no way we would have beaten France in Paris without Steph's threes, especially the 4 in the fourth quarter. That's how I define MVP. Couldn't have won without him. Could have won without LeBron, not without Steph. So I posted my viral video moments after the game. Then my producer, Tyler Korn, called me, I don't know, half hour later and said, you won't believe this, but somehow LeBron was voted MVP. And then I tweeted, that's a national disgrace. That's an outrage. Steph was the runaway, hands down MVP. You know it and I know it. I ask you again, tell me I'm wrong. Even you LeBron idolaters, you defenders, you apologists, you blind witnesses out there, the billions and billions of you blind witnesses, you know in your heart of hearts, Steph deserved that MVP. Okay, that said, now to the question. Maurice from Sweden. Top 10? No way. Those were 2 games at the Olympics in which our team was obviously the prohibitive favorite to win, and we ultimately did. It wasn't always pretty, it wasn't always easy, but we did thanks to Steph. But now let's look back at what Steph has done against higher level competition in NBA playoffs. Let's look at that first Golden State championship against LeBron's Cleveland, 2015. Steph wasn't even the MVP of that series. Iguodala was. Iguodala turned the series around when Steve Kerr inserted him into the lineup of Game 4. LeBron up 2-1 in his house for a Game 4. And Iggy took the series over on defense against LeBron and on offense against LeBron. Iggy became the MVP of that series. You could have made a case for Steph, but Iggy was clearly, to me, the MVP of that series. Then in 2016, that happened. I still can't forgive Steph for what happened in games 5, 6, and 7 of the 2016 finals. Game 5 and 7 were in his house, Oracle, Oakland. They were up 3-1, and they lost the last 3 games because of Steph Curry going completely south. In those last 6 games, just look at the fourth quarter. The last 3 games. In the fourth quarter of those 3 games, Steph went 6 of 20. He went 3 of 12 from 3. He never got to the free throw line one time in 3 fourth quarters of those last 3 losses. He was a -12. Overall, in those last 3 games, he was a -20. Let's just look at Game 7, shall we? This is his house for all the marbles. Steph went 6 of 19 from the floor. That's 32%. Steph went 4 of 14 from 3. That's 29%. In the fourth quarter of Game 7 at home, all the marbles. Fourth quarter, Steph went 1 of 6 from the floor and 1 of 5 from 3. He had 0 rebounds, 0 assists, and 1 big turnover where he threw it behind his back into about the 4th row. It was a crucial turning point of the game. Where was the Olympic Steph in that series? because he handed LeBron another ring. He just handed it to him. Up 3-1. He said, here, LeBron, let me gift you a ring. Top 10? I think not. 2017, KD was obviously the MVP of the finals. 2018, KD, once again, MVP of the finals. 2019, KD was mostly hurt. Then Clay got hurt. It was all about Steph. And Steph couldn't overcome Kawhi in Toronto. Remember what happened? Closeout game at Oracle, 8 seconds left. Steph had a wide open look to win the game, to force a Game 7 back in Toronto. And he missed it. Top 10, I think not. Then 2022, obviously Steph finally broke through and did win MVP against Boston. But in the fourth quarter of those 6 games, if I do all 6 games, fourth quarters combined, Steph went 2 of 10 from 3. Where was Olympic Steph there? I don't know. So I certainly give you the 2 games in the Olympics, the semifinal and the final. I definitely give you 17 of 26 in those games. God bless America. God bless Steph for that contribution to our international basketball legacy. But if you want me to vault him into my top 10, I look at this playoff resume and I say, no way Jose is in San Jose. Another question, this is Kelly Wilson who asks, just curious what you think Colorado's record will be this year, and if you think we'll, obviously he's a Buffalo fan, it might be a she, I'm not sure, Kelly, forgive me one way or the other, but if we'll make a bowl game. Okay, Kelly, I got good news for you. It may be crazy news, but this is just me. If you give me the best quarterback in college football in Shadur Sanders, if you give me the best two-way player in college football at cornerback and receiver in Travis Hunter, they could go 1-2 in the draft. If you give me the best freshman left tackle in the nation in Jordan Seaton, we had him on Undisputed out of the D.C. area, finally committed to Colorado, stayed with it. If you give me Jordan Seaton and a rebuilt offensive line, and then you do give me Deion Sanders' son Shiloh as the leader of the defense at safety, and then you do give me Deion Sanders, one of the rare humans I do not bet against. I used to say that about Tom Brady. I now say that about Deion Sanders. I just don't bet against him ever, ever, ever. If you give me that nucleus, I give you 9-3 this year. I got glass way half full, way more than half full. A lot of people have their glasses half empty, if not empty, period. Moving into a Big 12 schedule. I got them winning their first 5 games. Maybe I'm just cockeyed optimistic here because I'm such a Deion believer. North Dakota State won't be easy at home to start, and then they go at Nebraska, won't be easy. At Colorado State won't be easy. Baylor probably won't be easy. At UCF will not be easy, but I'm going to give them 5-0 because of that nucleus. And then 5 of their last 7 games are against ranked teams. Will not be easy. So I'm going to give them 3 losses in the last 7 games. I have them beating Kansas State, now ranked 18th at home. I have them losing at Arizona, now ranked 21st. Noah Fafita, I saw him against my Sooners last year. He's really good. Then I have them beating Cincy at home, winning at Texas Tech, will not be easy. Then I have Utah beating Colorado in Boulder. Utah now 12th in the country with Cam Rising back. I just don't think they can beat Utah then. That'll be November 16th, but it'll be at Colorado. Then I have the Buffaloes losing at Kansas, now ranked 22nd, and finishing up with a big home win over a very good Oklahoma State team, now ranked 17th. That would get them 9-3. I would hope that would get them into the Big 12 championship game against Utah. And I would hope that they could avenge their home defeat by Utah in the Big 12 championship game at Jerry World. That would get them to 10-3, and I believe that would get them into the playoffs. 10-3 playoffs for Deion's 2024 Colorado Buffaloes. And if you think Deion was the talk of the country early last year, let this happen and see how he takes over the world. This is Tony from Austin, Texas, who asks, do you think Dak is better than Tony Romo? After I read this question, I thought, could this be actually Tony from Dallas asking this question? Do you think Dak is better than Tony Romo? So I looked it up just to see what their records are. You ready for this? Tony Romo, as a starter for my Dallas Cowboys, went 78-49. Dak, as a starter for my Cowboys, is 73-41. So Tony had 5 more wins, but he also had 8 more losses. Playoff records. Tony was 2-4. Dak is now 2-5. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Come see, come saw. Lesser of two evils for me as a Dallas Cowboy fan, because again, I covered Roger Staubach. I got to know Roger Staubach. I know what that felt like. I know what that was. I saw true transcendent leadership in Roger Staubach. I covered Troy Aikman's Dallas Cowboys in the 90s. I wrote effectively 3 books about those teams. I got to know Troy. I still know Troy. Still text with him occasionally. I know what that was. I know what it felt like. I know what it tasted like. Tony wasn't it as an undrafted free agent. Dak wasn't it as a 4th-round draft pick. It's just time to move on. Romo, Dak, who cares? Lesser of evils. This is Roland, who asked me to predict the Eagles and what they will do this year. Obviously an Eagles fan, maybe from Philadelphia. Roland, I'm objective about this. I love my Dallas Cowboys. I hate the Philadelphia Eagles with all my heart and soul. I hate green anything. It's my least favorite color is green. Howie Roseman, your GM, won free agency. Howie Roseman, your GM, won the draft. Your Eagles got much better, obviously on paper, but they got much better. And they were 10-1 at one point last year. My Cowboys got a little worse. My Cowboys were down 27-0 in a home playoff game to the youngest team in the playoffs last year. We were the 2 seed. Green Bay was the 7 seed. We were down 27-0 before halftime. And Jerry did next to nothing through this offseason, making me wonder if he's trying to sabotage Dak Prescott's potential final year in Dallas. Right now, it feels like Philadelphia-Dallas on paper is a mismatch. So I'm going to be objective, Roland, about your team and its schedule. You open with Green Bay in Brazil. I'm going to give you that game, and I think it's a preview, potentially, of the NFC Championship game. I have you winning your first 6 games. Home Atlanta, at New Orleans, at Tampa, a little revenge for last year's playoff game. Home Cleveland, at Giants, 6-0. Then I have you losing at Cincinnati because I think Joe Burrow is really good when he's healthy, and I think he's going to be healthy. Then I have you winning 4 more in a row. Jacksonville at my Cowboys, Washington at home, and then at the Rams. That Dallas game is 4:25 Eastern, CBS. I just don't think we can compete this year with Philadelphia. I just don't think we're in their class this year. Then at Baltimore for Philadelphia on December 1st. That's a 4:25 Eastern game on CBS. That's a Super Bowl preview is what I think that is. And I think your Eagles will lose that game to Baltimore, at Baltimore. Then I have you finishing it off 5-0, beating Carolina, Pittsburgh at home, winning at Washington, beating Dallas at home. That's a 4:25 Eastern game, December 29th on Fox. I have you winning that game handily. And then I don't know if you'll need to play your players, but I'll give you the dub against what's left of the Giants, Daniel Jones, season ender. So I have you losing only those 2 games, at Cincinnati, at Baltimore. I have you going 15-2. I have you hosting the NFC Championship game against Green Bay. And even though I was leaning Green Bay through the offseason, the more I looked, the harder I looked at what Howie Roseman wrought, what he pulled off. I got to tell you, you're it. Maybe I'm trying to jinx you, but you are it. Tag, you're it. 15-2, home field advantage, win the NFC Championship game, get to the Super Bowl against Lamar and company, Baltimore. And then you could see if you could avenge your regular season loss at Baltimore. I'll save my Super Bowl prediction for another couple of weeks. This is Julian from Clearwater, who asks, since you're from Oklahoma, have you seen the new Twisters movie? If so, did you like it better than the original? Okay, Julian, you're from Clearwater, so you know hurricanes and I know tornadoes because I did grow up in Oklahoma, Tornado Alley. Every spring, it was one after another. I did go in 1996 to watch Twister, featuring Helen Hunt, Bill Paxton, and I thought it was pretty silly. Special effects were pretty good, but it was pretty silly, which has given me pause and kept me from going to the theater to see Twisters, plural, the new one, featuring Glenn Powell, who, by the way, I've seen in, what was the other movie, The Assassin? I think he's got star quality. I think he's turning into a movie star. I'll probably watch it in my living room at some point, but I have not watched it yet. When you grow up in Oklahoma the way I did, you get numb to tornadoes. They are a fact of spring life. They just happen and happen and happen. The one good thing about tornadoes, if there's any good thing, is daytime, sometimes at night, you can actually see them swoop. You can actually run from a tornado in ways you can't really run from a hurricane unless you just evacuate the week before. But minutes before, you can run from a tornado. I never had to do that. We've had some devastating losses. Moore, Oklahoma had one back in the 90s. Devastating. But my most memorable tornado came one early evening. I was playing a high school baseball game. I believe it was cross town for us at U.S. Grant High School in Oklahoma City. I believe we were playing the Grant Generals, as they were called. We were the Northwest Knights. That game probably started at 4-ish and ended at 6:30-ish, 7-ish. During a tornado alert, we continued to play because that's just what you did. It got dark and stormy, but it did not rain us out. I drove home in the dark, scanning the skyline for tornadoes, did not see one. Woke up the next morning and was told by my mom that a neighbor had told her that a tornado had swooped down on the block behind us. So on the way to school, as I drove myself to school, I was a senior in high school, I detoured around the block to 48th Street behind us on Grand Boulevard, and I witnessed a Mustang, as in car. I witnessed a Mustang in somebody's living room, pretty much right behind us. I witnessed 3 houses destroyed and the next one on either side in pristine condition. I witnessed providence, I don't know, act of God. I don't know how to explain it, that a tornado could swoop down and destroy 3 houses and lift a Mustang off the street into a living room and sit it down, while that house and that house had not been touched. I'm sure they had some window damage, but they looked just fine to me. That was life. That was a tornado. I shrugged. I went on to school. Sun was out. You pull yourself up by your bootstraps, as my mom used to say, and you go on. That's what we do in Oklahoma. We go on. Maybe we're numb to tornadoes, but we move forward. That's it for episode 125. Thank you for listening and or watching. Thanks to Jonathan Berger and his All-Pro team for making this show go. Thanks to Tyler Korn for producing. And please remember, the Skip Bayless Show every week.